Hey y'all, Rampage Reviews here, and I'm here to ask you a question. Do you love video games? Good. Do you love indie games? Awesome. I love indie games. I mean, I have a bajillion of them in my backlog on Steam, more than AAA games. And unlike your AAA games, your big A, your AAA, your
EA Sports.
And it's becoming an issue for AAA games nowadays when it comes to its pricing, most games feeling very safe and ununique, or changing up a formula for the wrong reasons, or even over budgeting a game that feels very unnecessary whatsoever, or worst of all, not bringing back older series for a very long time that have been laid dormant. But indie games does it more differently when it comes to its unique gameplay, mechanics, gimmicks, and so on, and especially working on a friendly environment without being pressured by big corporate suits. You have popular indie games, for example, like Hollow Knight, Shovel Knight, Undertale, Celeste, Enter the Gungeon, Hades, and even my favorite one, Pizza Tower at that. Now, these indie games that I mentioned are very popular and talked about to this day. However, there is this issue when it comes to indie games, in that it's being overshadowed by many popular indie games, and especially best AAA games, as a matter of fact. Which is why I'm making this video and not just talk about indie games. I'm talking about underrated indie games. And these underrated indie games can have its variety of uniqueness that you wouldn't find but also experience, and talk to you guys about 5 underrated indie games that you have to play. And without further ado, it's time to rampage through it and start with the first one. Imagine combining 3D Sonic games in the action hack and slash game, and you got yourself Spark 3. And it's a 3D action platformer hack and slash game in which implements the foundation of Sonic Adventure gameplay, while also revolutionizes the speed momentum from the Sonic Unleashed 2 generations, as well as your usual hack and slash combat from other action games like with DMC. You go through the linear stage as you would in other 3D Sonic games, going at super speed while keeping the control momentum well tight, riding on rails, homing down enemies while going through different ways of traversal. But you also get to square up your enemies, and you mess it up real good as you get blocked by a path for you to progress, from parrying or blocking and dodging attacks, as well as the number of unique bosses to fight in an arena. As your damage meter goes up while doing unique combos without spamming the same attack over and over again, as well as giving you different unique weapons that apply to your character skin to be applied on the D-pad, and plus on how you move and use while browsing through the shop. In the shop menu, you get to purchase powers by collecting bits, and in these bits you get to acquire unique abilities, new combos, and even skins that would apply to your overall character. As you progress through level to level, you would acquire a freedom medal, which is basically essential to progress through the story, plus with different sub-levels that you want to go through if you want to collect more of them to progress. Each sub-level have a different challenge, for example, like reaching a state to the very end with a time limit, or collecting a number of medals in a explorable map, or even tutorials that would help you on how you play the game. So a minor spoilers alert, but I'm gonna put them there anyway since it's kinda cool. You get to ride a freaking car like Initial D, or riding a gunship in which you shoot down in a bow hell style, or even a mecha boss fight, as a matter of fact. So other than the fact, I'm not going to mention too much other than the story, which is mostly flashbacks, but until the end it just kind of fucks you up. So yeah, if you like 3D Sonic games and love hack and slash games, then I'll get Spark 3. There's even a free demo on the Steam store page, plus a sale that is going on right now if you want to get it. ICEY is a disguised 2.5D action hack and slash game in which you play as ICEY, in which the story is narrated by the narrator, who guides the player while also narrates ICEY's actions on what the players are supposed to do to kill Judas. Now, there isn't much to say to this game other than the fact that when I said a disguised game, and I mean it is a disguised one as a matter of fact. What I mean by that is that basically if you were to play this game on your first playthrough and listen to every command on what the narrator says, you would be given exactly 2 hours of gameplay, and that would be true. It does take 2 hours of gameplay if you would play it normally in your first playthrough, and then come back to the very beginning and you get to fuck around later and even fuck up with the narrator's objections and even finding secrets and multiple alternative endings as you go to area that you weren't supposed to go, or even ignoring, to the point of fact that it becomes a meta-narrative on game development, in which the narrator will talk about his history about developing the game for over 10 years, and the lore keeps on building and on as you find something behind this game, and it gets more interesting to the point where it becomes more than just a game and more about free will. It's actually more than 5 hours in completion in length if you were to unlock all the secrets and achievements than what you initially played on your first playthrough. It's an absolutely crazy game with an absolutely crazy combat, and I highly recommend getting it if you can. If there is one game that completes this desired itch of playing as a badass robot and defeating 8 evil robots, it's Gravity Circuit. And ever since the Blue Bomber got his last game back in 2018 and has been laid dormant yet again from the guy who shoots his lemons on his hand, Gravity Circuit is a throwback to the Megamix games with upgrades from the X series and speed control from the Zero series that mixes Zero's gameplay style of attacking closely than shooting from original Megamix games. You play as Kai, who is a Gravity Circuit in which he's former allies with the Rebel Circuits who have gone rogue and sided with the Virus Army, and now you have to defeat them in a Mega Man styled level in 8 different stages. This game is unique from not just a mix-up of Eurobeat music, which is composed by the GOAT himself, Dominic Nenmark by the way, which you should subscribe to, but also from how you approach both in combat and traversal, in which you attack the enemy until stunned and can be grabbed by a hookshot and thrown back at them, in which they can be used as throwable objects or other objects that are throwable as well. Plus, with attaching the ceilings and wall mount, you can also hold down the bumper trigger to run and get free control without slipping away from the controller. Burst techniques can be purchased and store up to 4 techniques, in which they can be triggered by a special button and any 4 directional paths that you've set up. These can be acquired by defeating a certain rebel circuit, in which gives you a different burst techniques you can use in your disposal at the cost of energy meter, in which they are filled for defeating enemies. You can also have chips in which they are passive to be slotted for rescuing a number of civilians in each stage. There are also secrets to find for upgrading permanent health and energy in each select stages that you have to find if you're smart. The main highlight of this game is that each stage feel unique and have that gimmick on each different circuit's theme without feeling stale and samey that you're playing the same stage with different layouts. Especially with the boss interactions and how Kai views his former comrades who are causing mischief, and each boss have different attacks to dodge as well as their overdrive phase when their half health is reduced. Despite the short length, it finally gave me that Mega Man itch that I've been craving for, and it's worth the time to try it out if you want that retro feel with a remixed platformer game experience. So imagine putting a Goose and a game called Millslug in the same room, and you got yourself a Mighty Goose. Mighty Goose is a badass goose who has a big gun arm that shoots out his foes and is fighting against the tyrant Void King who is trying to conquer the universe. It's a run and gun game that you'd go through the linear stage in a fast-paced fashion while also equipping weapons like machine gun, shotgun, rocket launcher, and a Tesla cannon. You also have companions helping you out in battle, as well as acquiring different abilities by talking to them depending on the percentage it consumes energy, as well as equipping side weapons but with a recharge time and different types of vehicle to ride on and destroying your enemies. You go around the hub area through a select screen with 3 different options with different planets that act as a level to the very end. Despite it being a short game, it's still an awesome game to get through. Plus, you can get it on sale on Steam. And it's also the same guy who composed the game that I mentioned before. So first things first, rest in peace to Dang, the game studio that made this beautiful game, which is published by Devolver Digital, aka the haven for indie game publishing. Without it, we wouldn't have to experience this something unique. Boomerang X is a fast-paced first-person shooter, but instead of using a typical gun, you'll use a boomerang to throw at enemies, which is unlocked through abilities by completing a stage with waves of enemies in different environments. You have these different abilities you can use, like teleportation, in which you throw the boomerang through a long distance and then teleport yourself in that distance. Spread shots in killing multiple enemies that acts as a shotgun, or a long shot that pierces through enemies as a sniper rifle, slowing down time, speeding up your boomerang for a proper throw, and so on. The story itself doesn't explain this to you directly, but it can be interacted with a friendly bot creature who you can find, and explains the history of the unknown tree that was casted upon some sort of curse until you reach the end. Though, despite my first playthrough, I did miss the bot creature that was standing near the entrance in every level you go to, and I just missed some lore stuff whatsoever since the beginning because I had so much fun throwing the boomerang at enemies. But still, it's an hour long, but it has an endless mode after beating the game if you're itching to throw more boomerangs at people, and even a harder difficulty at that. So get the game on sale on Steam, which is very short, and it even has a higher discount as well, so you can pay respect to the indie studio that only made their own first game. So yeah, these are my 5 underrated indie games that you have to play, and hopefully I get to shed some light to these games to you guys. And what better way to end this video is a B-roll. Thank you guys for watching this video. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.
Yeah! Yeah, lemons!